This is a Film Stories original podcast.
We made this.
This is our special Fight the Future Minute podcast. I'm Russ Hugo, and you're listening to our coverage of Minute 51 of the X-Files, Fight the Future. This minute begins at 50 minutes, surprisingly how this works, and Bronschweig is about to meet his very, very pathetic and pitiful end, and then we end up seeing an old friend, somebody we really care about, at the very end. And to discuss this minute, I am once again joined by fellow ex-castee Deana Ferreri. Are you still doing well?
Hello again. Still doing well.
Fabulous. Well, now we get basically to witness a slaughter.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about this? I mean, it's a very, I think, effective. For all of the criticisms we've maybe had the past minute, I do think it is an effective terror scene when he gets closed in with the alien down there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's just like there's some sort of like it goes into sort of like primal fears about being buried alive. That I don't know. I think that's one of those things that like everybody for some reason has like an irrational fear of. Well, I guess it's rational actually. And just the light. How just the light just disappears as you see the sand being shoveled on top of the on top of the hole. Like, I agree. It's so effective. It freaks me out every single time.
I just wish it didn't have the jump scare, but oh well. Other than that, I do find it to be very effective. I did find it a bit. I think it works, but I find it a bit odd that he is surprised that he's being closed in.
Yes.
It seems like I could understand if it was more like panic, like, oh, don't let me out, or you got to let me out because he doesn't want to die, he's about to die. But it kind of also reads more like, wait, why are you doing that? And it seems like,
yeah,
of all of the groups that would do something like this, you've all had to have been trained to do this. We also started off this film with Terry O'Quinn's character sacrificing himself for a bombing of a building that, which we didn't talk about this together, sacrificing of an entire building and potentially thousands of people. Why? Why did they have to blow up the bodies there? Why couldn't they have done it in a abandoned Dairy Queen? But they had to do it there. Similarly, it seems like these people know what they're in for. But.
Yeah, I think so. We were talking in some of the previous minutes about how maybe the whole alien attack thing is a little out of character with what we've seen of aliens and the X-Files in general, but this part of the conspiracy where it's just very, very brutal, very cruel, like survival of the fittest sort of thing, where it's like, yeah, there is no surprise here that they are going to trap this guy down there because, I mean, I guess they assume he's been infected. Either they assume he's been infected or they know he's not getting out. He's not making his way out, and so they have to close the alien down there. And I think that's just pretty consistent with everything they've seen. Yep. There's been, no hesitating to kill whoever needs to be killed to keep the whole thing going.
Yep, and and that's I think what makes it effective is it does play in with the standard, like you said, X-Files, Syndicate, what must be done cruelty. And for the last 10 seconds, we get to watch a bunch of rich kids run around with maybe like a governess, is that the correct term, in Somerset, England?
Maybe.
And my first question is, people actually, I mean, maybe, I don't know, we'll have to leave it. We're probably the wrong people considering how many folks on the X-Cast are from that country. Do people actually dress like that still in the 90s? Rich kids? And maybe they do. But this just seems more like...
I thought maybe they were in school uniforms or something.
It could be. But even like the governess, it seems a little... like the school uniform, the socks and boots and everything else, this seems like Carter or Spotness were maybe watching a little too much PBS, like All Creatures Great and Small or something, and like, okay, this is how the well-manicured man is living it up. It could be like that. So, but I just was, when I saw this, I thought of the phrase "LA fever dream" of England. And who knows?
Yeah. Well, another thing I noticed about the kids running around is like the nanny or whoever that is, she's sort of yelling toward one of the kids to like run faster, and I'm like, is she like their coach? I'm like, what's going on? They're just like, they're sort of running around playing tag, but she's like yelling at one of them to run faster.
Exactly, yeah. Quickly, Matthew, quickly. Like,
yes.
Run faster, maybe to like go inside, you would think. But no, they just keep running around outside. And again, I don't know, it doesn't seem like if the entire purpose of this exercise is to run around in circles, is that the outfit that you wanted to do it in? And, okay. Again, you got to keep the look up. You got to look as bougie as you are. Who knows?
Yes.
Not me. Any last thoughts about minute 51?
Well, I think the well-manicured man looks very content there watching his grandkids play.
It's a nice scene.
It is.
It's a nice transition. Of all the times to like, we've seen him enough. We've seen him doing his horticulture and his horse riding. And so this isn't like a big reveal of any mystery, but it's a nice introduction to the familiar face. So that wraps up our latest Fight the Future Minute. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thank you again, Deana. You'll be back, of course, for our final minute together, minute 52, as we get to learn even more about the well-manicured man's incredible life of prestige and privilege. So until our next minute, remember, as always, trust no one.
Previously on the We Made This Network. By projection light.
Dickinson also brings the audience's attention to a then unknown Audrey, who shines like a bright, pure beacon the whole film. It's quite amazing to think that only a year after this film, she would be cast in the film that would catapult her to superstardom and garner her an Oscar win. But it's also not difficult to believe. Her performance is so unaffected, as if she's living the part of Nora, which, as I've said, she almost had already. And it's also wonderful to see her dance, particularly during the audition scene towards the start of the film, where she flits and spins like an angel. It made me think of how she had danced during the war for audiences who were not allowed to clap due to the prohibition of public gatherings, but how she brought joy to those people as she brings joy to everyone who's watching this film every time she dances.
Don't say the C word.
Sex, drugs and rock and roll isn't a cliche. I've seen it all. There's a unique group of groupies that feel the need to collect, if that's the right term to use, like all of the band members, as in to sleep with all the band members and all of the crew.
Oh, wow. So they kind of, do they work their way from the top down, or do they work their way from the bottom up?
Yeah, get to whoever they can first. And it would always be me and one of the band members they'd never get. And I was quite proud of that. I was like, yeah, I'm the one that you don't know about. So like, you can never brag. I'm not a bragging right.
That's pretty admirable. And is there a particular reason why you're not going to shag the groupies?
At the time, I was a virgin and I didn't want my first time to be with just some random lady on the road.
Bloody hell, that really is admirable. I think I'd have thrown my virginity at anybody, to be honest with you.
It got to the point a few years on, like, I was like, I'm thinking about it now. But no.
The time is now, a Millennium podcast.
The way that he's offered that job, I think he's done that before. It's not out of character for him to go into situations like that. I know it's done with a bit more levity earlier on the season in Goodbye Charlie, where he goes to speak to the social worker, and he lays off all of his problems, which is a great scene in that episode.
Yeah, it's very hard to have that sort of levity when you're dealing with literal Nazis, to be fair.
Well, yeah, it's a slightly different take on the same kind of.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether the Mel Brooks sequence of that would probably be something to behold.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.